on you. I'm excited to see what you guys are building at CARE XR as part of this week's hackathon. I'll be there tomorrow to kind of check it out and also be have a hand in judging your projects. So I hope everything's going well, and I hope you're all working hard and really inspired by what you're doing. I'm here today to just give you a quick video about a tool that I thought might be useful for you guys. It's something that we've been developing in-house for our own purposes. But it's something that we're going to be releasing publicly soon, and it's really just a tool that allows anybody to create simple but very good looking 3D card assets. So these card assets might be something you might want to use to display information or whatnot, but it's something that's really done easily done just from a web browser. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough on how you might be able to use this in your workflow and create something that's fun. So you just go to this website, alpha.elysium.ar, and it will redirect you to our card designer. And when you get to this page, you just click on card designer and you start a new project. The other option that we saw before was if you have an existing project that you saved with this, you can load that project. The intention behind the designer is to be able to have a templating system so that you can create a card and then reload it and do another version of it, save it as something else, and basically be able to rapidly create dozens and dozens of 3D cards quite easily. So I can start a new project. I'm going to call this project card, right? And then I can basically, to default, I can choose from two different templates. We have our AR asset card, which is essentially the form factor for any kind of playing cards that you don't normally find around. And then we have our loyalty card, which is the dimensions for a typical credit card. So you can go to next, and we can just call this card 1, right? It's important to name your card because, once again, the idea here is that you have a project, but you can create multiple projects, multiple cards with the same project at the end of the day. So once you've reviewed your setup, everything looks good, you can go ahead and press create. You may see if you haven't signed up before, you may be presented with a form to fill out. Just submit your email and for our newsletter and whatnot, and you'll get free access to this page. So once you arrive to the site, you basically see a canvas and two sidebars. And this canvas is a 3D interactive canvas, so by clicking and dragging with your mouse, you'll be able to move around. There's a toolbar at the bottom, which has a bunch of different buttons, happy for you to explore. Basically, a bunch of presets for where the camera looks at the object. We have one that's called Showcase that basically shows the card, as well as the front face and the back face on the left and right. By clicking on this button here, you can flip the card to the other side. This allows you to export a photo. You can take a photo of whatever's on screen. And this button here basically allows you to move around, and then by clicking on it, it'll take you back to the original camera position. So it's a nice little animation that you can do. There's a share button here. So when you're done creating your card and you want to share that, this is the button that you would use to create a unique URL, a link that you can then open in a separate web page, right? It'll show basically exactly what you have done up until that point. Right now, I've realized that we're unable to share this page publicly, meaning that we can't share this link with anybody that's not on your current computer. But that's something that we'll have fixed in the next week. Hopefully, maybe even by tomorrow, by the time that I'll be there on Sunday. Okay, so this is a blank card, so it doesn't show anything. So first thing we're going to have to do is go back to create something, right? So we can go back by collapsing the full screen view and opening up our sidebars. All right, so the first thing you'll see is you can click on the title, you can click on the project name, the card name, you can change these on the fly. If you unlock these items, you can change the dimensions of the card if you so wish, the resolution, the orientation, and then here you have two different presets. So right now we have the loyalty card, but if we want to switch that, we could go up here and tap on that to switch to the other card format. And the first thing you can do from here is click on Canvas, and this basically selects the background of your workspace. You can pick an HDRI image, so we can pick another one, which is like a sunset, scene. You can rotate the sunset scene to kind of make it look the way you want. We can add a gradient behind the cards like this. You can change the colors. You can change the gradient angle. So if we change this to say like a much darker blue, for example, and make this pink, I could do that. And then I can change the orientation of that gradient as well. Okay, so that's just the background, and you can also, yeah, at the bottom here, you can change the canvas size, you can change the positioning, you can change the angle, you know, there are just different ways that you can make it look good. So if you wanted to use this to take pictures of the work that you've done, this is a way to do that. All right, so we'll leave that for now. We'll go back to an HDRI. And so when you go to building your card, this is the part that actually matters. You'll be able to drag and drop images. They can be PNGs or JPEGs onto these fields so that you populate the fields, or you can just click on them. So if I click on the front face, allow me to go to you know, search my pictures. I go to my pictures. I can go to Cuphead, for example. I can pick this image here and then map that onto the card itself, right? I can do the same thing for the back. I can pick a different image, right? And now if I flip to the back of the card, it's there. Foreground is something that you can put in on top of the front image. And this is something that would ideally be a PNG that has some kind of transparency. So for my experience, for my example, I use this Tokyo Olympics logo from the 60s, right? So by default, it fills up the card, but then you can change the scale with the slider here and change the position to be wherever you want on the card, right? And as you'll see, like, it's kind of hard to work on an angle like this, so you might want to just reset the card position. You can do that quite easily with the keyboard shortcuts. So you can just like keyboard shortcuts from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is the showcase. So 1's the kind of like default, looking exactly at the card angle. We can also add a brand logo. A brand logo is something that just shows up at the top left corner of the front face of the card, right? And here again, we can change the size of that, right? You'll notice that the text for the card title goes on top of the logo. That's fine because like at every one of the fields of content that we add, there's a little eyeball. So you can use that to toggle the appearance of items on the card or not. So in the same way, if we go to the card content section, you'll see now you have the card name that we can toggle off. So we're going to do that. As part of a playing card, you have ID and series. These things actually don't show up on the card. At least I don't think no, yeah, they do show up on the card. So we can add ID like card 1/001, right? Series new, and now I believe that these would show up somewhere. So yeah, card 001, and then the series of the card would be new, right? So you can't move these because these are designed to be part of, you know, our own template for creating playing cards or collectible cards. And similar to the background, you can add a gradient on top of the image. So what we can do right now, we can have these default colors. I can change the opacity of that, and you'll see that I can add a color to tint the image that's on screen. And here you can maybe like choose a more subtler, you know, image or color. Like that, right? And you know, you can play around with how that looks until it's the way that you like. Right now, it's only on the front face. If I flip, it's by default applied to the back as well. That's because these two front and back gradients are linked. So if you click that, you can then individually manipulate the back separate from this. And then if you want to kind of like flip the back image, you can click on this that flips the vertical orientation of this. So yes. And once again, if you want to see what it looks like before and after, you can just hide that and see, okay, well, that's, you know, that's kind of nice. I like it. So I'll leave that there for now. And then I'm going to link that back again. So it's really simple. All right. Next thing you can do is add what we call stickers. Stickers are just images that you can place on top of any surface on the card and move them however you like. So we can call it 001. I can add a sticker, for example. I can add, there we go, we can add this one, right? Fills up the screen. I can just scale it down, and from there I can position it anywhere on the card I like. Left, top, right, so forth. And you can also decide whether you want it in the front or the back of the card. So if I flip to the back, it's suddenly on the back of the card, right? So I can collapse that. I can add additional stickers. I can add up to 8 stickers between both the front and the back faces of the card. So we'll call this number 2, and then I'll add a different image. We'll add this guy, right? And we don't see it right now because he's on the front, but if I flip him to the back, there he is. And you'll see that he's actually behind that first image. And that order is dictated by the order that they appear on this list, right? So right now he's underneath number 1, but if I put him above number 1, he'll show up on top. The other aspect of the AR card is the ability to add text to the card. So this is like what they call the front HTML content. We can just write in some text and it should show up. Hang on, because I'm on the back side, right? So now you'll see that as I type, the text will show up on the card, and here I can actually change the size of the text, right? I can change the width of the space that it takes up, and I can change the height of the space as well. Underneath this, they'll give me the same kind of like position controls I have with the stickers. So if I want to make this aligned with the new text, for example, I could just drop it down like this, right? And once again, there's a field for front and there's one for the back. Right, so you can add text in that way, and you change the color of the text by clicking on the button here. If you go like that. Okay, well, that needs a bit of updating. Okay, so we've gone through basically how we create content on the card. You just add stickers, you add images, you add text, however you like. The next step is to go to the finishing step. This is actually a part which is a little bit, I think, is a little bit more fun. Up until this point, the images have been applied with a flat texture so that we're able to see it in the clearest fashion possible. But what we want to do at this step is add a physical material to that. And the way that we can do that is just simply by selecting some of the presets that we have, right? And you'll see that the quality of the item, suddenly the reflectiveness has changed. You can give it a tint, which makes the gold color a little bit interesting. And you can make it holographic to a degree and play around with all the settings here. So these settings here are just presets for the sliders that are below. And then finally, you can define what the edge color is. So the edge is this thin surface at the top and the bottom of the card that goes all the way around. You can choose the color and change the color dynamically. So if I do that, it becomes a pink border. We have some presets as well, where you can have it silver, gold, rose gold, as well as platinum, right? So these are just quick ways to kind of add a nice edge to your card. And below that, we have what we call lighting. In lighting, it's as if we basically have a light that's kind of placed near the card, and you can position that however you like. Once again, it's to add some kind of dynamic look to the scene, the card that you're playing around with, to see what it looks like. And this should give some indication of how it should behave in a VR or AR setting. The effects, all the effects are on by default, so you don't have to worry about that too much. You'll notice that the card just kind of like, when I'm not doing anything, it kind of just floats there, so that's the float animation. The light parallax is what happens when I go over the card. You'll see that it tilts a little bit, so that's kind of the animation for that. So it's really just for, for looks and the aesthetic effect. Composition we've gone over before is the different positions that the camera can be in, that kind of show off the card in various ways. And then the showcase, which shows the front and the back faces without any of the stickers or content on top of that. So it's kind of meant to create a dynamic display of what your card design looks like. And once again, if you go full screen by clicking on the bottom menu here, you'll be able to see all of this. One last thing I kind of want to show off is the fact that we can upload audio to this project. This is just a nice little fun feature that we added so that it's fun when people share this, that they can actually hear audio with the interactive card that you're actually creating. So now I can drag and drop and also listen to music at the same time. Right? I can turn this off here as well. And when I leave the preview, the music will automatically stop. Okay, so we've done all this work to create this 3D card. The next step is what do we do with it? So we've allowed people to export this into two formats. One as an image, of what you've created in the scene to pose and to present that online and share it on social media or whatever on your portfolio. And then the other one is actually as a 3D object that you can use in any kind of process, right? So in any kind of experience. So we use a format called GLTF, which is also known as the GLB. So here we can do that. Before we actually export anything, I want to show you the project. So you can save, now that we've done all the work, we've set everything up as we like, we need to save the project. So you click on this, and it's going to save an eCard file. So this will allow you to load this project again from wherever you're at. It's like a save state. And just basically pick up where you left off. So going off of what I said in the very beginning, this is a way for us to rapidly create an entire set of cards that are all unique, but also share a certain look. So the idea behind this was that, hey, I've created the general template of something. I can bring it back in, change the title, save it as a separate eCard file, and so forth. So now I have a bunch of things I can go back and reproduce, modify if I want, and just play around with, right? This share button is the same thing as we've seen before, where you share it to a different screen. If I click on this now, I believe you'll copy a link. This link at the moment is not publicly shareable, but it's something that you can open on a different tab on your browser. Hopefully by Sunday I'll be able to make it publicly available, and then in which case you'll be able to see it. So this is just a thinned down version of the player that we saw. And once again, the audio plays as once it loads. And yeah, so we can just this is ideally something that you would want to share with perhaps other team members or other people that you want to share this with. It might be a client. It might be something to add to your portfolio as a link in your portfolio. So this is something that's really just kind of fun. So we can get out of this as well. And so going back to the whole point of exporting something, we want to export a GLB. Both GLBs and images abide by our three resolution settings. There's insanity, which is massive files that you probably are unwieldy and unusable for most purposes, but might be a good way to archive what you've done. Original is a reasonable size, probably good for a lot of detail, and usable for most cases. Optimize, which is small, it's optimized for games and used for sharing and live situations. So if I export a GLB, for example, this one is going to be 1.6 megabytes, right? If I go click it for insanity and I export that, it's going to be much bigger. But it will have all the rich details that you want in the asset itself. And because it's much bigger, it's going to take a little bit more time to export. So as you see, it's almost 10 times larger than the original one. And if we click on optimized, it's going to happen a lot quicker because it's a much smaller file. It's less than 1 MB. It's maybe a third of the size of the original. So go back. So you've basically exported those GLBs. If you want to see the output of these GLBs, you can tap on this link. Before I do that, there's a checkbox here that says Bake Textures. Leave that checked on because what that does is it actually compresses all of the images into a single layer to make it lightweight and easy to use, but also it looks better, right? It's already done all the image balancing. We've kind of done that in the background to make it look nice. So if I want to go here and look at these GLBs that I just added, right, I can go ahead and take a look at what they look like as a preview. Okay, so now all of the, you'll notice that the colors are a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, a little bit more contrasty. That's the result of compressing and merging all of the layers together that you've composed. And yeah, it just looks like it's really, it's really tight. So this is the original. And if I go and try to upload the compressed, the optimized one, it's very, like, there's almost no difference. There's really almost no difference. It's just using a little bit more compression on the images themselves. But for most intents and purposes, you don't need to use even your original quality. I would go for user experiences just so it's lightweight and file size, and for your performance, use the optimized settings. Okay, so that's for the 3D assets as cards. The other ways that we can show off what we've done is export images. So we have two options here. We have the card face, where we can choose either the front or the back face that we're going to export. And if I export the image, once again, I'm using optimize, so it's the smallest image possible. You just get an image of what that looks like, right? So you'll notice that there's some artifacts here. The image is a little bit blurry because it's compressing the JPEG, but that's what the image looks like. And if you go original or Insanity, the image just gets bigger and has more definition. And once again, you can export the front panel or the back panel separately. And then the last one is the 3D scene, and this actually captures the. It's almost like the screen cap button in the floating tool quick bar here. This allows you to take an image of the entire scene as you've kind of positioned everything. So I can export the image. Actually, let's change this to the original quality. I'll export that. And so now you'll be able to see basically that as a JPEG or a PNG. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for now. We're also going to be working on this, and like I said, this is a beta feature at the moment. This is something that we would want, love some of your feedback on, and it's hopefully something that would help you out in creating something quick, having something that looks good for your projects. Oh, before I go, we've basically created this card. We've saved the project. I want to show you how we load the project. To get out of this space, we can either press escape, or we can tap on this sort of like reset button up at the top. So I tap on that. I can say discard and start over. You'll notice that we actually support French as well as English, so you can toggle between the languages. And then now we're back at the first page. And what here we need to do, we just drag and drop our eCard project. So this one here is the one that we just saved. We can drag it into that, and it'll just load everything as we had it when we saved it. It's pretty simple. So hopefully things are going well. Hopefully this is something that you guys might find useful. If you do, feel free to contact me with any questions you might have. I invite you to play around with it. I'll be there at the Shriners tomorrow starting at noon. So, try to hunt me down, and I'm happy to help you out with your project or even using this tool. However we can help as we get to the end of the sprint for this hackathon. Once again, I wish you guys all the best of luck. I really can't wait to see what you guys are coming up with. And yeah, we'll talk really soon, right? If you want to get in touch with me, feel free to just email me. My email, I'll write at top here in the browser, is jon.yu at mythology with an I .es. So think mythologies plural. So feel free to just contact me here and forward me any questions you might have. I'll be checking my email throughout the night and responding whenever I can. All right, thank you and best of luck.